All right, so as you can see, these are a list of things that we've been doing with your kiddos and our plans to finish out the fall with your seniors. So just to kind of look back on the things we did last spring, on February 15th, the counseling team hosted a junior parent night that went over a lot of information that we're going to review again tonight. And then throughout the spring, counselors met in person or virtually with juniors in basically a life after high school coordination. So they went over the handbook. So all juniors have that handy dandy handbook. It's quite thick, you can't miss it. And then also college and career labs were offered to all juniors in the spring during FLT. And again, that was either in person or virtual. And then here we are tonight. Hopefully we're all set from now on, going over college and career planning for your seniors. For the months of September and October, your seniors are going to be meeting with their school counselors for the senior intent to graduate meeting. Some of your seniors have already started those meetings. And what that is basically we sit down and review their transcripts with them, what credits they have left, things that they might need to do above and beyond in order to graduate. And then we decide which diploma they intend to graduate with. And I'll go over all of that in the coming slides. So that's what's happening in these 2 months right now. Just something to think about. Tomorrow, we're going to be meeting with the seniors as well to go over the same presentation pretty much. And then Wednesday is our college fair where we have, I believe, 89 schools. Is that correct, guys? Coming to our school on Wednesday. So that'll be awesome. So on the week of October 4th, we are going to be doing college and career labs again. And then October 4th, NEEF will be hosting a financial aid night that Ms. Levitt will talk more about at the end. And then early fall of 2021, early action deadlines will begin. And then November 15th is I Applied Day. So that's where we have local New Hampshire schools coming to our school to work with our seniors to help them apply for college. So a lot of things happening leading up to November. All right, so this is a big thing that we talk about in our planning sessions. So this is the minimum requirement for graduation. So the 28 credit standard diploma is basically fulfilling every graduation requirement we have here at Sanborn. This is definitely not new. We review this with our kiddos every every time we do course selection in the spring. So in order to graduate from Sanborn, we need 4 years of English. So that is English comp and literature and composition that we have for 9th, 10th, and 11th and 12th. We need 4 years of mathematics, one including algebra or math 1. And then a senior math experience. So math experience can be a traditional math class pre-calc, AP Calc, stats, or it can be a math experience like financial skills, welding, wood shop. Through internships, we can often satisfy the math experience. And then we need to successfully complete 3 sciences, 2 of which need to be physical science and biology. And then 3 years of social studies, which we get through our requirements as well, global studies, your government, your money, and then US history. 2 years of physical education, 1 year of art, 1 year of tech, and then 10 elective credits. And within those 10 elective credits, there is a credit of advisory for all 4 years. There's software seminar if that was completed, and then a whole multitude of other electives. This information can be found in our program of studies, which is both on our website and some students also have access to that physically. We can switch to the next one. Heidi, when you're ready. So obviously we do focus on the 28 credit diploma because that is our required that's our requirement for graduation. But we do offer a 32 credit diploma with distinction. And this is attainable with students that have taken and passed all 8 classes, all 4 years. So because we allow for students to take 8 classes every year, it gets them to that 32 credits, plus that extra credit that they get for the 4 years of advisory. So it's technically 33 credits if you take a full course load every year and pass. So that is something that a lot of students go for. With that being said, there are some other distinctions to mention that come with the diploma. So I'll talk more about New Hampshire Scholars in just a moment, but we have the 2 honors, which is magna cum, magna cum laude, which is an unweighted GPA of a 3.4 to a 3.9, or summa cum laude, which is a 4.0 or higher. And those are both unweighted. And just to mention, we only measure the GPA at the end of their junior year so that it's sent home with them for their senior planning. And then again on graduation day. And the reason we measure them just those 2 times is because they're always in flux. A lot of our seniors take NECO courses over at Northern Essex. So those grades don't get factored in until they complete the courses, and those are completed, depending on when those courses end, as well as VLAX courses, because those end when a student completes them. So that's why we only take those measurements those 2 times. Okay, so New Hampshire Scholars. So basically, this is an honor to have that goes on their diploma. They get a pin for graduation, and they have their own set of requirements that go above and beyond our requirements here at Sanborn. So some of them do stay the same, like 4 credits of English, 4 credits of math. In those 4 credits of math, Algebra 1, Algebra 2, and Geometry are included in those. And those are attained through our Math 1, 2, and 3. And then 3 lab sciences, which if a student does complete our 3 science requirements, they will get their 3 lab sciences. And then social studies is 3.5 credits. So that would be 1 additional course on top of the required social studies classes to get that extra half. And then 2 credits of foreign language, and that will get you to the New Hampshire Scholars. There are 3 pathways New Hampshire Scholars could have that are additional. So there's a STEM pathway and an art pathway. Both of those require a 3.2 GPA, and that can be weighted. So with those, it's the GPA requirement and then the additional courses. So for the STEM, there needs to be an additional STEM course. And as you can see on this graphic, this graphic can also be found on the New Hampshire Scholars website. Science, math, tech, computer, CTE, those are all counted towards STEM. And then for art, it's again the 3.2, but 2 credits of art. So on top of the art requirement that we have for graduation, they need to take 2 additional art courses. And then the final pathway is the career pathway. And with that, excuse me, SST or internship or any type of industry credential can help your student get to the career pathways requirement. And that's something that we will evaluate at the end when it's time for graduation.
So for post-secondary planning, I know it's stressful for everybody, parents and students alike, but that's what we're here for. So the counseling department will help your student with life after high school, even if it's not college. So one of the options is a full-time job. And so in the counseling office, we offer help with career research. So we can do that via online or networking. We can help with interview skills, which is something that we do with students who are looking to go into the workforce, and resume building and the internship opportunities. So by senior year, your students have likely heard of and decided whether or not they would like that internship experience or the ELO. So these are things that your students are likely already enrolled in if that's where they're going. However, in order to get the internship credit, so if your student needs these internship credits in order to graduate, then they need to complete the 2 presentations within the internship. So there's one at the end of the fall semester and then one at the end of the spring semester. And then we have something that's called Job Corps, and there's a link in this presentation that you can get to. And they will also be at our college fair this Wednesday. And it's free job training. The closest one is in Manchester, and it's for 16 to 25-year-olds. And it's a federal program that helps these students.
And I would just add that Job Corps is, it's based on its income eligibility or if your student has a disability, but it's free job training so instead of going to NHTI for a dental hygienist, they can go to Job Corps and have dental hygienist training. If they want to be in Homeland Security, instead of going to Manchester Community College, they can go to Job Corps in Manchester and have a Homeland Security certificate. They provide housing, they provide medical care. If your student hasn't gotten their license yet, they can get their license through there. It's a great free training program. So if that's something that you're interested in, it's pretty involved to become part of it, but it's definitely worth it. So if you are interested in that, or you think that might be something that's appropriate for your student, then reach out to one of the counselors and they can talk you through that a little bit more.
And then there's also the option of a gap year or a year off. And it's when a student plans to attend college but chooses to enroll in a formal program after high school, such as one of the ones that we have listed. And it's in order to grow more. So this can help them expand their views, their knowledge, their life experience. It kind of helps them get ready for the real world if after high school they don't really know what they want yet. So it's a year off in between graduation and college, and it's to help figure out what direction you want to go in.
And many of those programs are focused on service and city years like teaching and just kind of community service on steroids, basically, just to help a student grow and really figure out what it is that they're interested in doing.
Can you go to the next one?
Yep.
Oops. And then, so in order for it to be an official gap year, they have to be doing something. They can't just like take a year off. It's getting accepted to college and then just putting it off for a year rather than just completely taking time off. And so now we're on the military. And so we can help students research military and recruitment, and some of those branches will also be at our college fair. So we have enlistment exploration, and we have like recruiters who will come in, National Guard and reserves, and then we offer the ASVAB and commissioned officer status. So that's for students who will go to college first, where they'll do their ROTC, and then immediately after graduation, they will become an officer rather than have to go up through the ranks. So community college and 2-year programs. So it includes your general education classes. And I'm from Massachusetts, but very similar to what we do here. It's students have the option to attend community college for 2 years and transfer in to a state school. It's called Dual New Hampshire, and you can check that out on dualnewhampshire.com. So it's good for students who don't really know what they want to do. So you can take your gen ed classes and get an associate's degree and then go into a 4-year school. So the AccuPlacer is required for placement in English and math classes. So it's a computerized test that students will take, and it will measure their abilities so that they know what class to take. And so, like I said, if students are iffy about what they want to do, it's very cost effective, especially because they have transfer agreements with those 4-year colleges. And it's a good way to get started in a field to kind of explore what it is you might want to do. And so certificate programs in technical schools, they're more short-term programs, usually between 6 weeks and 18 months in length, depending on what industry they would like to go into. And it's very hands-on work. So this is things like auto and HVAC and things like that. So the trades. And students will end up getting the skills and the experience that they need in order to continue in that line of work. And most often students will get job placement assistance. And community college can also offer certificate programs. And there will be technical schools at the college fair as well. So if you have students who are looking into continuing their education, but not in a traditional sense, there's schools that they can talk to. And in the spring, there's a career fair that will focus specifically on certificate programs and technical schools for those students. And then we have the 4-year college application process. So together, we'll develop a list of 5 to 8 colleges, and that's going to range from safety, target, and reach schools, so that there's a variety. And then students will register and practice for the SATs or ACTs, and we can use Khan Academy. So after students take the PSATs, it can be linked to Khan Academy, and it will kind of show students where they need help, and it'll help them get ready for the SATs. And so this one's important, the senior brag sheet, because this is going to help us as counselors write recommendations for students. And it's especially important where we're all new. So we haven't been able to create that relationship with your students yet. So the senior brag sheet will help them tell us what they think is most important for them to know. And then they'll start working on the college essay. That will most likely happen in their senior English class. And then we'll go from there. And then they will ask for letters of recommendation. But this has to be done through SCORE, which Heidi will talk about later. We recommend visiting the colleges, whether virtually or in person. Most schools are giving both options right now. And to start making a list of application and financial aid deadlines for the colleges. And we have a sheet that students can come to the counseling office and get that will help them organize those things. And if you have students that are looking to play Division I or Division II sports in college, then they will need to register for the NCAA website.
You all set?
Yes.
All right, perfect. So just before we move on to the next slide, I did want to show everyone Sanborn's counseling website and how to get to that, because it's pretty thorough. If you go to Sanborn School District and then click on schools and click on the high school, and then it brings you to the counseling office. And if you scroll down, you'll be able to see first there's some resources for mental health, if that's something that you at any point need. And then you can also see there's the links for all of the school counselors in case you forget who your student's counselor is. And then here's all the resources, and there are many. The profile in the program of studies will be updated soon, but you can see right over here, we have the link for SCORE, we have the link for Common App, we have requirements worksheets, we have dictionaries, we have the link for New Hampshire Higher Education Assistance Foundation, and I'll talk a little bit about that. The link for New Hampshire Scholars in case you missed that. a college timeline, the link for College Board to register for SATs, and Julie's going to talk about that a little bit. There's the link for NCAA. So any link that you could need for college application is all here. You'll also find on this side presentations that we've given, and this presentation will be linked here as well after we have it edited a little bit by the tech department. You'll also find on this website a monthly scholarship newsletter. So you can be checking out every month. We will have our local scholarship packet that will come out in February, but every month we organize all of the scholarships that get sent to the high school that are national ones or maybe more regional scholarships. And those will all be put into a newsletter, and you can just click on that link here. This is where your student will also find the senior brag sheet. After Thursday, there'll be a Google Classroom where your student will find different activities for them to do in order to kind of move through this timeline, move through this process. We'll walk them through the checklist of and task list of things that they need to do. And then down here, you see extra this help for the standardized testing. So a link for Khan Academy for the SAT, for some tutoring steps for the ACT. So our website is a wealth of information, and it's important to know how to access that. Let me just get back to the presentation. All righty. So SCORE. SCORE is our college and career planning tool. Every student was sent an invitation. After our college kickoff with the kids on Thursday, they'll also get an invitation again. Once the students create their account, then parents will be able to be invited. So as I said, it's a college research tool that the student and the counselor work on together in order to walk through the college application process. There's also a career interest inventory in this. So if you have a student at home who's saying, I have no idea what I want to do, and they're starting to feel really anxious because they think all of their friends have it figured out. Well, first of all, let them know their friends don't have it figured out. They're just as anxious. But if kind of trying to figure out what might be the best path for them is something they're interested in doing, there is an interest inventory tool on there. It's pretty comprehensive. It takes a couple of hours, but the information that they get from it is incredible. And so I would really encourage them to sit down and take that if they really have no idea which direction they're headed in. As I said, the SCORE is used to load in all the colleges, and then we'll help them. And I'm going to walk you all through this in a minute. Then they'll use the Common App to do their application. That's something that they do at home with parents, because as we're going to walk through that also, you'll see that there's some information that they need from parents. And then the two kind of come together, and the school sends off the school profile, the school report, the transcript, and the letters of recommendation when your child tells us that they have applied. So everybody has a role in the college application process. So I'm going to click on these links. The first one here is, what does it look like as a student for SCORE? So let me bring up my student account. And when they first log in, there is a whole tutorial that will walk them through everything that they need to do. It talks about how to build their profile over here, but the tabs you'll want to look at the top are the ones that to focus on. The My Profile page, you can see over here on the left, is where they're going to load information about themselves. This is also where they'll sign the FERPA, and the FERPA, which allows us to send off their transcript and waives their rights to reading their letters of recommendation. So most colleges won't accept letters of recommendations unless the student has waived their FERPA rights. So students will just need to go in here and allow and grant that permission. When they log in, I've already done mine as a student, but when they go in, you'll see that this will not be highlighted in green. So they'll need to go on, click that, read through it, and then grant that permission. So in here, it can be pretty comprehensive. You'll load all kinds of information about yourself. So if I wanted to load my activities and achievements, things that I had won, if I won any leadership awards in high school, I could put that in here. Move this out of the way. If I wanted to load in my preferences of what am I looking for in a school, I can type in what major I want. So maybe I want to do social work. And I'm looking for a 4-year degree, or maybe I'm just looking for a 2-year degree. What are my activities? I like disc golf and I'm into the debate team. So I would load that in. And then this is going to help match the schools for me. So it might bring up some suggestions, or now my counselor can see, I didn't realize that Heidi was into disc golf and the debate team. So now when I see schools that have that or have that on their profile, I'm going to recommend that for her. And I'll show you what that looks like in a minute too. This is where your student could take that career interest inventory. All right, so that's all under the profile. Under My Colleges tab is where your student will start to list some of those schools that they're interested in. And their counselor has access to this page to see. So as a counselor, I could say, wow, I didn't know that Heidi was into disc golf and debate and wanted to be a social worker. I know that UMass Amherst has that, and I could make that as a suggestion for Heidi. Or I can see that she's already added that. So I might suggest something else. As a student, I could go in here and say, I'm looking for the University of Tampa. And click on University of Tampa. And now that college is in here for my counselor to know that I'm looking at it. As a parent, you will also be able to make some suggestions for your child once they invite you to school. Once you've added a college, you can click on it and it gives you a whole lot of information. So it gives you the academic overview and it lists what my application status is. If I click on college details, it again brings me to even more. So what is the acceptance rate? What's the tuition? If I continue to scroll down, I can see some videos that I could watch about from a student's perspective, what kind of activities they have, what are the scores that they're looking for, what are the deadlines for it, what do they need for letters of recommendation, application, do they need an essay? All of that information is right on here as I clicked on it. If I said, yep, I'm definitely applying to UMass Amherst, then I would click on that and mark it as applying. I would tell my counselor which deadline I'm looking at, and I'm looking at the early action because I want to make things easy for myself, and I'm going to apply on the Common App. I could add in my Common App ID there, and then it would move it over. And now when my counselor logs in, she's going to see that I've moved the University of Massachusetts to the applying column. And it tells me as a counselor that there are 0 of 5 tasks complete and 0 of 2 documents sent. So I need to make sure that I get that sent. So I'm going to log out here as a student and let you all see what the Common App looks like. So if I think about that, I was applying to UMass Amherst and it said that I need to apply as a Common App. So I'm going to go to commanapp.org. And again, I can find that link right from Sanborn's page. And if I was the first time coming to this page, I would do create a new student account. And this is what the Common App looks like. So right here, you can see these are colleges that I've added to my my colleges. These are the ones that I'm interested in. And the Common App itself is right here. So the Common App is made up of several sections. It takes about an hour It needs to be done at home with parents because parents have the majority of the information that the student needs. So you can go through the different parts of it. It doesn't have to be done in any particular order. And when that section is done, it will give you a green check mark. And then you will be able to kind of know that you're done and ready to do the application piece at the end when you've got all the green check marks. For each section, all of the help tab is over here so that students can really get their questions answered as they go through it. If you click on the writing tab at the bottom, this is where you'll find those Common App essays. And the essay prompts are all here. As Amber said, the students are working on their college essay in their senior English class if they chose to do that as their activity as opposed to a resume. They can type it in Google Docs, get feedback from a teacher, which I really strongly recommend that they do, and then they can copy and paste it into here, and then that's where they would move on to the next section of the application. So it seems pretty overwhelming, but it's actually, if you can toggle between those two websites, your student will be doing great. The other way to look at requirements is to just click on a school's website. So this is for UNH. What application do they use? They use the Common App. How much does it cost? What do they need for transcripts? Who do they want to have that sent from? What do they need for letters of recommendations? All of that information is right here on that college's website. All right, tips for applying. So you have to be honest. You have to encourage your student to be honest. If when they get to the question of, have you ever gotten in trouble in school? Did you get suspended from school? Don't lie. If you did because you were a freshman and you did something a little freshman-like when you were in 9th grade, it's okay to say, yep, I did that and this is what I learned from it. Because you don't want the college to find out that you lied about something on your application. If you make a mistake, work with the college and let them know. There is a section in there. How did you handle the pandemic? Have your student be honest. If they really struggled with their mental health during the pandemic, but then they learned about themselves that they really need those social connections, have them talk about that. That's really important for the college to know. If they had to leave their activities or maybe their grades went down a little bit because maybe they had to contribute a little bit more to the family because somebody at home who was working couldn't work anymore and they needed to pick up extra hours at Market Basket for that and their grades dropped. Talk about that. The colleges really want to know how did the pandemic impact them. Demonstrated interest is, have you visited the college? Have you gone to the website? Did you go to their booth at the college fair and fill out their card, their little postcard? Have you done a virtual visit? Have you done a tour? That demonstrated interest shows that you are really and truly interested in the college, and that admissions officers take note of that. They do keep track of it. If the school sends you an email, open it and read it and respond to the admissions officer, ask questions. It really does help in the application process. Northeastern, for example, gets 72,000 applications for 4,000 spots. You want to make yourself stand out. So your essay, you guys can read this, but your essay has to tell the story. Tell them who you are, how you've grown as a student over the course of the time. Write your essay about you. Don't write your essay about your grandfather and tell how wonderful your grandfather is and he fought in the war and how proud you are, because that makes them want to have your grandfather be their student. It doesn't talk about how your grandfather impacted you and how he changed you and made you into the person that you are today. Talk about that aspect of it. So make your essay stand out. They're reading lots of them and you want yours to jump off the table at them. And obviously determining, as I showed you, early action, early decision, or rolling admissions. Early action is just what it says. It's applying early and getting a decision back from the school before most likely Christmas break. Early decision is a binding legal agreement. So you only want to apply to early decision, if you know you are 100% certain capable of affording that college, no matter what they give you for financial aid, and you are going to go there because it is a legally binding agreement. We don't recommend early decision applications in many situations, but if you feel like that's the one for your student, definitely reach out to your counselor and we can have that conversation. Enrolling admission means that they don't have deadlines, that they are always accepting applications until their freshman class is full. So as many of us have said, the college labs are going to be starting up. We have lots of resources to walk your kids through this. This feels like an overwhelming process, and they've already been in our offices, some of them close to tears, thinking about how they're going to do this, and they're not ready for it. So we will walk them through every step of the way with this. They'll use that handbook that we gave them, those college labs, presentations like this that they'll have access to in those counselor meetings. All right, Julie, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right, so the SATs. It's your students' responsibility to choose the colleges they're sending their scores to. So when they take the test, they have 4 colleges that they can send to for free. We suggest picking 4 and sending them to, even like, if you're not sure where you're going, the state colleges are always a good option. But just send those 4 scores to your top 4 schools. And after the 4 schools, every other time you send the scores out, it costs you $12. And then it says each school, some schools require the SAT scores, some don't. Some are program specific. So just make sure you research your schools and know which schools need what. Next slide. And these are the test dates. So these are important dates. So go over this, make sure you are registered for the test date that you want. If you're going to apply earlier, do the earlier ones. Just make sure. The exam fee is $55. And there's a great late fee of $30. So you're going to want to try to get register for the test on time. And now the ACTs has also has its own different test dates and everything. And this site, if you go on it, it also has, there's a free prep test you can take. So you can see some of the questions that may or may not be on it, or similar questions. And this also has a fee, $60. And there's a version of it that you can do an essay with, and it's $85. And when it comes to these tests, if your family qualifies for free or reduced lunches, these fees get waived. So if you haven't applied for the free and reduced lunches, please do so. It saves you a lot of money in all of these exam fees. And sending your scores. The College Board, make sure you write down your password. We cannot get it for you. If you happen to lose it, you have to reach out directly to the College Board and the ACT account to request your password. But this is where you're going to request where you want your scores to be sent. And because the school ourselves do not report the scores, you guys have to tell the SAT and ACT where you want them to send your scores. And you have 9 days after you take the test. If you wait longer than 9 days, you have another fee of $12 per college. And at the bottom is the link to the 2 websites, the SAT and the ACT sites. They're great websites to explore and to learn all about the 2 tests.
All right, so some helpful tips and information. I know we're throwing a lot of info at you, so this is where we're kind of going to go over some key things to take away from this. So each senior will have at least one-on-one meeting with their counselor, and that's that meeting I was talking about earlier, the intent to graduate. With that being said, your student can request more meetings with us. We are just an email away. So if they want to set up an appointment outside of our initial appointment, have them email us. It's really hard when they drop by the office because we're not always available. And sometimes, we're closed for whatever reason. So an email will definitely get to us and we'll be able to set up that appointment. Seniors should sign up for FLT to start those college labs. We'll put announcements in the daily announcements so that they can see that, and hopefully it's read over the announcements in the morning so you'll know when those start. A big thing, attendance really matters. If you're absent, bring in a note. Bring in that note or send in an email to the office so that we can have that excused. So just be mindful of that. We're seeing chronic absences, especially unexcused. It can lead to some tough conversations. One of those tough conversations is graduation probation reviews. That begins in January. And what that is your school counselor is going to review your credit check again and your transcript, and then look at your current grades. If a student is failing a class, if a student is less than 50% of the way through an online class that is required for graduation, and or are not fulfilling their internship requirements, that will land them in a graduation probation meeting. And that meeting is held with their school counselor and their administrator. And that conversation really does discuss, this is what you need to graduate. You need the minimum requirements, which is what I went over earlier for that 28 credit. If any of those credits are in jeopardy, we have that discussion. And then we reevaluate again in May, and then we reevaluate again come June. So January is that kind of Hail Mary that we do so that we can make sure we're on track. A great tip to help kind of figure out exactly where your kid is applying, what they are applying for, what applications are required, is creating a spreadsheet just so that you can see fees, financial aid status, special requirements, and things like that. Is the SAT required? Or is the ACT preferred, so that you have all that information. Amber touched on this, but if you are planning to play D1 or D2, make sure that you are registered on the NCAA website. If you have no idea what we're talking about there and you think you're going to be playing D1 or D2, email your counselor and make an appointment so we can get that squared away. And then this is big. If you are part of the National Free and Reduced Lunch Program, see your counselor for a waiver. You can waive the fees for sending out those scores that Julie was just talking about. You can definitely waive the testing fees if you plan to take the SAT or the ACT. So make sure you have that, and we can get you that if you need it. Okay, and a few more helpful tips. Create a professional email. We definitely try to convey this to the kids from, day one of freshman year, but it's always nice, to remind them again, because where they're applying for college, we do not encourage them to use their school email because that is deactivated once they graduate. So we want them to use a personal email. So we want to make sure that they're not using ilovemoney@gmail.com and that they are using something that might be an iteration of their name. We also try to encourage them to reevaluate their social media. Hot topic right now, especially with the TikTok trend currently. We're definitely trying to educate them on how to present themselves on social media. So that's a great conversation to have from home and help us out. Again, with that spreadsheet that I mentioned before, it's really helped to double check the application requirements because as Ms. Levitt said, going on to the school website, it's going to tell you everything that that school needs for an application. So that's the best place to start, is the school's admissions website, to find out exactly what you need. And if you create a spreadsheet, it'll be really hard to miss those requirements. I think the theme is going to be use SCORE. I think we can't say that enough. Use SCORE for everything, especially with those recommendations. Do not send recommendation requests to teachers or to counselors through college, the Common App, I mean. They need to come through SCORE. Everything will be through SCORE, okay? I know we already received a couple recommendation requests through the Common App, and we're telling everyone SCORE. So just when in doubt, think SCORE. This is a big piece. If a student is dually enrolled, so if they're taking SNU classes, if they're over at Northern Essex, they need to request the transcript from those dual enrollments to be sent to their colleges. We do not have a hand in that here at Sanborn. So if they want to prove that they got SNHU credit or NECO credit, they need to send those transcripts off. We cannot do that. We cannot access those. We just get their grades for our transcript. We do not get a formal transcript, so we don't have access to that. And last but not least, if you have a 504 plan, you can use it in college. You'll need to contact that school's student accessibility services to have that put into place, but that's really easy to navigate on this. Again, the school's websites will have all of that laid out.
Just a couple of things going off of this, as far as the dual enrollment classes. Sanborn will have, whether it was an NECC class or a SNU class or a running start class, on Sanborn's transcript, it will be indicated. So it would say NECC English 101 and then their grade, or anatomy and physiology SNU. But in order to get the official transcript, and that's what the college is going to want in order to give them college credit for it, it has to come from the college. So they'll need to request that college transcript through the college's website. So running start classes are through Great Bay Community College, and then SNU and Northern Essex, obviously, through their websites. And as far as the 504, that's also true of an IEP, except it's a little bit different. So if your child has an IEP in high school, they won't have an IEP in college, but they can have a 504 plan. So what you would need to do is probably in the early spring, work with your child's case manager to have a meeting to make sure, well, you'd want to make sure that all the evaluations are up to date, and then have a conversation about what accommodations did your child really use in high school. And then you'll bring that IEP and those updated evaluations to the college, and the college will write a 504 plan based on the accommodations that they had in high school that they can use, that the college would be able to use or provide for them in college. So it's a little bit of a process, but any supports and services that they had in high school, you'd want to have a conversation with the college about how to continue those, but it is possible. All right, and financial aid, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because we are going to have a financial aid night in just a couple of weeks, but it's important to know that everyone should fill out the FAFSA. It's the federal aid for a student, I can't think of the acronym right now because it's late.
Federal aid for students and families?
Financial application for, I'm not sure. I'm going to have to, my mind is drawing a complete blank, and I've done it myself for my own kids for the last 7 years. So I'm not sure. That's probably why it's drawing a complete blank. It's actually not a horrible document. It opens on October 1st, but in order to get any scholarships, to get any financial aid, and you might think, oh, my family won't qualify for financial aid. If you think your child might qualify for scholarships, the school can't award scholarships unless they've filled this, this document out. You'll also want to see if your child's college needs the CSS profile, which is a much more heavy lift of a document. And it costs $25 for the first college, and then every additional college after that, it costs money. The FAFSA does not cost money. You should never pay anyone any money to fill out the FAFSA. If you find a website that says it costs money to fill it out, it's not the real website. And as I said, NEAF, the New Hampshire Higher Education Assistance Foundation, will be here on October 4th to walk us through the FAFSA and what that looks like. There'll be lots of scholarship information here in the counseling department. That local scholarship packet will come out in probably February, maybe March. And that will have the scholarships that are only for kids in Kingston, Newton, and Fremont. So it's a great source of scholarship money. I think last year we gave close to $50,000 out. Then a couple of these other opportunities, the New Hampshire Charitable Foundation, that's the nhcf.org. That's a New Hampshire only organization. They have about $6 million every year that they give away for scholarships. Their applications become available right after the first of the year, so you'll want to be checking that website. And a couple of legit national organizations are fastweb.com and scholarships.com and collegeboard.org. Those are definitely places that will have legitimate places to look for scholarships. Navigating the scholarship world can sometimes be difficult because people will ask you to pay money and there's not a lot that's given in return. So if you have questions about something, just shoot it off to us and we can help you look at it and try and figure it out. If you have a complicated financial aid situation, whether it's a divorced family with one parent's not giving information for the other parent, maybe you own a lot of different assets and you're trying to figure out how to claim those or how to work with them, NEAF is going to be your best friend. They will sit down with you and do one-on-one appointments with you and walk you through the whole process. At Sanborn, we don't get involved in the financial aid aspect of it at all. We're not financial planners, and we honestly, it would make us feel uncomfortable to really know your financial situations. So we keep our hands out of that aspect of it, and we refer all questions for financial aid to NEAF. And finally, communication is key. Students and parents, students in college, student and counselors, student and teachers, keeping everybody in the loop with anything. Colleges love when students reach out to ask questions. They don't love it when parents reach out. So if you have to coach your child through a conversation and role play with them, but the admissions officer wants to hear from your student, they don't want to hear from you, parents. They want those students to take that active role in their education. Next year, it's going to be all about them advocating for themselves in their college environment, and they want them to start practicing for that. So if you and your student is sitting down and thinking about colleges and you come up with a number of different questions, work with your student on how they can find that admissions rep and how they can best ask that question to get their needs met. And that is the end of our presentation. We didn't do too bad considering the bumpy start that we had. And I know, are we all set in the chat? Have we answered all the questions? Okay. Again, we appreciate everybody kind of sticking through with us. Like we said, the college fair is on Wednesday. Encourage your kids to look at the list that they were given. It's also on our website. And have them make sure they have their lists of colleges that they want to go view. And then on Thursday, the students are going to get a modified version of this presentation. And then we'll be off and running to the races to get them to do their applications and get them ready for those November 1st and December 1st and December 15th deadlines. If you have any questions at all, you guys know who your counselors are. Now you have faces with names. Reach out. They're a great group. And they would be more than happy to help you through this process. So at this point, I'm going to end the night. Everybody have a good night.